The memo from the FBI's Richmond field office suggested radical Catholic ideology could lead to domestic terror, and that the FBI sought to develop sources inside churches to report on any suspicious activity. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, writing in the subpoena, quote, "This information is outrageous and only reinforces the committee's need for all FBI material responsive to our request. The documents produced to date show how the FBI sought to enlist Catholic houses of worship as potential sources to monitor and report on their parishioners." It's a chilling thought. The memo even drew criticism from FBI Director Wray himself. He condemned the memo when asked about it last month.
When I first learned of the piece, I was aghast.
As you should be.
And we took steps immediately to withdraw it and remove it from FBI systems. It does not reflect FBI standards. We do not conduct investigations based on religious affiliation or practices, full stop.
Emily, I want to take us through how we got here, first starting with the January 23rd, 2023 memo. So this memo comes out, here's what its headline: "Interest of racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists and radical traditionalist Catholic ideology almost certainly presents new mitigation opportunities." They relied on data from the notoriously left-leaning Southern Poverty Law Center to suggest Catholic Americans may be domestic terrorists. I went to Catholic school my whole life. I go to Catholic Mass every other Sunday. My husband's Catholic. I'm Protestant. But I can tell you, I've never met a radical traditional Catholic, never heard of this, nor is there a wave of Catholics committing violence across the country. You as a Catholic yourself, you got to read this and think, what is going on and why is my faith being targeted?
That's right. Well, Senator Hawley, I thought, did an excellent job of articulating what is, frankly, an unconscionable assault on Catholic Americans' First Amendment rights, and also a complete abdication of duty by the DOJ and the FBI to practice and enforce the law without fear or favor. And keep in mind, too, for viewers, so we have Director Wray there that said he was rightly so aghast at what happened. How did it get there? How did our tax dollars pay for this program for undercover agents to be installed at these extremist churches? Why? Because they spoke Latin in masses? Right? That's a traditionalist approach. Many, including my family who grew up in Sicily, oftentimes that was part and parcel of that for some reason, however, that made it to the top. It made it to the execution phase. Think about how now you can't even be pulled over without there being paperwork accomplished, without there being a reason, a justifiable reason for so. So think about, to that level, when it gets to that point, just how many eyes, just how many hands approved that decisions. And then note as well how Attorney General Merrick, during his testimony before Congress, denied everything. So the question is either, was he lying before Congress when he denied over 3 times that there were, in fact, undercover agents placed in these churches, that there were informants being cultivated, that there were sources being cultivated, setting up a tripwire for this extremist search out? He either didn't know, which is appalling, or he did know and he was lying about it, which is even more appalling. And so that's also what Senator Hawley and others are demanding accountability for, and what we as the American people should do as well.
So since you brought that up, let's go to that now. Harris, so Garland called this memo from January, he called it appalling, so did Wray. They've both said it's appalling, it's since been rescinded. But here, to Emily's point, is what Garland told Hawley. We have this soundbite, we'll play it, about the use of potential informants in the Catholic Church.
Are you cultivating sources and spies in Latin Mass parishes and other Catholic parishes around the country?
No, the Justice Department does not do that. It does not do investigations based on religion.
How many informants do you have in Catholic churches across America?
I don't know, and I don't believe we have any informants aimed at Catholic churches.
So as Emily said, was he lying then? Is he lying now? What's the truth? Where does it lie? I look at this from a more 37,000 foot and feet rather. This is really a press against Christians. And following the Nashville Covenant Elementary School mass shooting, and the fact that on the left, they didn't want to call that targeting, but would be quick to jump to that if we were talking about other religions. I mean,
sure.
Come on. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So what is going on here? Because those are 2 men at the top of their food chains, both at the DOJ and the FBI, having to deny, even though a letter, or lie, or both, both can be true, deny that there exists this culture there that might be anti-Catholic or anti-Christian, even though there's the letter. They both say, oh, well, you know, we condemn the letter. Well, do you condemn the action behind that letter? And has there been any action taken? And by the way, if he doesn't know if he has informants at church, he should resign tomorrow. I mean, churches are the backbone of this country. When you look at the most important moments in our history, they were a place of refuge. They were a place of salvation, not just of your soul, but community. Healing. They feed more people in the country. I mean, all sorts of things are going on to this day and historically in our churches. If the head of the DOJ doesn't know if he has some informants at American churches, he should just sit down and take several steps.
Ben, let me quickly get this fact in there. So there's that memo, it's rescinded, right? So we move on to Jim Jordan says, I need information about how this memo was created. He gets 18 pages of material, heavily redacted. But here's what he finds in the material of what he can read. He finds out that they sought opportunities for new avenue and tripwire and source development. Tripwire means informal sources. They were then going to go to mainline Catholic parishes and diocese leadership to leverage existing sources to type 5 assessments. Type 5 assessments are informants. Correct. So this, from what we can read, very clearly lays out what they were trying to do, and we know at least one undercover agent involved. These are facts.
Well, Holly, the next question needs to be, I think, is what other religions have been targeted? They said a word in there, and I don't know if you guys caught it, radical traditionalist Catholics. Did you notice that? Radical and traditionalists are very different things. So what it means to me is, okay, if you're a traditional Catholic, we now deem your values and your faith as radical. You're a radical if you believe in traditional marriage. You're a radical if you believe in anti-LGBTQIA transgender. You're radical if you want to raise your kids in a Christian school, a Catholic school. You're a radical if you believe in traditional family values. So the question I now have is, you lied about when you went after parents. Remember that?
Oh.
They lied about that.
I am one,
right?
so yes.
Right. But they lied. They said, you remember, we were domestic terrorists if you showed up to the school board meeting. The FBI clearly now has decided to become not law enforcement at the top. They are now institutions of what communists used to do, which is target people you want to take out. And if you can go after an entire religion, and that is what they are trying to do here, and describe you as domestic terrorists, the same way they did parents, I want to know who else is on the list. If we're on this set right now, are we on a list? If you go to an evangelical church, are you on a list? If you go to any other normal traditional religion, are you now on a list? Are they trying to recruit people? That's the question I think the Senate should be asking.
So the point I was making previously that you're helping me make is that I wouldn't doubt that most of the people on that list are Christian.
Yes,
I mean,
of course.
It's obvious.
We know they've targeted the pro-life community. We've seen that. We put up the numbers here before. Tammy, and to the point of, look, I'm appreciative of Garland saying he's appalled. I'm appreciative of Ray saying I'm aghast. But that doesn't end it here, because there are more questions. Jim Jordan points out the document itself shows that its contents, including its proposal to develop sources in the church, were reviewed and approved by 2 senior intelligence analysts and even the local chief division counsel. We know from whistleblowers the FBI distributed this document to field offices across the country. So the head is saying they're appalled. That doesn't answer the nuts and bolts of the senior leadership beneath them.
No, and what is he appalled at, really, or aghast at how it was written, perhaps? But note what I noticed right away. When you say something specific, you're removing something else from the consideration. So he says, we're not going to investigate people because of their religious beliefs. Well, of course not. But that's why now they've been deemed RTCs, radical traditional Catholics. That it's not because of their religious beliefs. Those people are fine. It's that they're radicals. So you can say, oh, we're not, he said, absolutely, full stop. We're not going to be going in and, to investigate churches or any of that. Well, of course not. They're going in to investigate extremists. So this is when you hear about as opposed to him saying, this is nuts. No one is going to spy on the churches. He never said that. This is unacceptable. But he did say we're not going to target people because of their religious beliefs. They've decided this is not a religious belief.
It's radical.
And then they also mentioned in the other memo the mainline churches. That means they feel that the churches that are not, if you're going to a Latin Mass Catholic church, you are likely more conservative. So that's the problem there. And I think that's why you've got that specificity. They were going after conservatives, who are people of faith.
Wow, and the facts belie the platitudes.
Correct.
And so, Jim Jordan, a lot of questions, and I hope we get more answers.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.